Howdy students. Today I will be explaining to you chapter number 5 of your NCERT textbook, Footprints Without Feet. Name of the chapter is Footprints Without Feet. It was written by H.G. Wells. But before we begin, let's know what this story is about. Can a man become invisible? This is the story of a scientist who discovers how to make himself invisible. Does he use or misuse his discovery? So we have a question here: if anyone can become invisible. Have you ever heard of someone becoming invisible? This story is about a scientist who discovers a way to make himself invisible, transparent, and now we are going to find out if he uses or misuses his discovery. The two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. What was a barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? And where was the man? As they gazed, a remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. So, two boys were sitting on some staircase, near some staircase, and they were surprised to see very fresh footprints on the staircases of a house. Steps of the house. What was a barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? London, it was cold, and in such winter, how was someone walking barefooted without putting on any shoes or slippers on his foot? And where was the man whose footmarks they were? As they gazed, as they were looking, a remarkable sight met their eyes. Something extraordinary, something unbelievable happened. A fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. Another footmark was imprinted on the step. Further footprints followed, one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. The boys followed, fascinated, until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter, and at last disappeared altogether. Now, the footprints of this invisible man followed. They were being imprinted on the ground, one after another, descending the steps, climbing down, going down, climbing down the steps and progressing on the street. So the boys, who were surprised and fascinated, impressed, followed those footprints until those footprints became fainter and fainter. Fainter means almost invisible. So they started fading away, and at last they disappeared. The explanation of the mystery was really simple enough. The bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent. The explanation of this mystery was very simple. It wasn't very crucial or very, complex. It was very simple. The meaning of bewildered is puzzled, surprised, astonished. So, the bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make human body transparent or invisible. Griffin, the scientist, had carried out experiment after experiment to prove that the human body could become invisible. Finally, he swallowed certain rare drugs and his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass, though it also remained as solid as glass. The name of the scientist whom the boys had been following was Griffin. He had been doing experiments and experiments to prove that human body could become invisible. You could just vanish. You could just become transparent. And finally, eventually, he took some drugs and his body became transparent just like a sheet of glass. And it was also as solid as glass. So it wasn't that the body melted down or something like that happened. No, the body was as intact as it was, as solid as it was, but it became transparent like a sheet of glass. Brilliant scientist though he was, Griffin was rather a lawless person. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. To get away without being seen, he had to remove his clothes. Thus, it was that he became a homeless wanderer, without clothes, without money, and quite invisible, until he happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. The author here says that Griffin was a brilliant scientist, but he was a lawless person. Lawless person is disruptive, someone who has very little or no regard for law or rules. The landlord of the house where this scientist lived, disliked him and tried to take him out of his house. And in revenge of that, what did Griffin do? He set the house to fire. And to get away without being seen, what he did, he just removed his clothes. His body had already become transparent. So he removed his clothes and he became invisible. And thus, as a result of this, he became a homeless wanderer, a vagabond. Without clothes, a person who had no house to live in, who had no clothes, who had no money, and who was invisible, who had no body to be seen by others, until he happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. Now, the setting has been explained to you in this paragraph. Where did the scientist come from? Where did the footprints come from? He escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints in London, but his adventures were by no means over. He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about London without clothes. It was midwinter. The air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into big London store for warmth. He was easily able to get away from the boys who watched the footprints and started following him in the London. But his adventures, his activities, his mischiefs were by no means over. By no means means not at all. But there was a set of adventures that is coming ahead of you. He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander. It was winter, so to wander without clothes was like, sitting naked on the piece of ice. Very difficult. It was midwinter. The air was very cold and he could not do without clothes. He was feeling very cold. Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into big London store for warmth. So, because it was too cold, he decided that he will not be walking in the streets now, and he slipped into big London store to get some warmth. Closing time arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. He broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. Soon, with shoes, an overcoat, and a white brimmed hat, he became a fully dressed and visible person. In the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. He entered the London store, and then the closing time arrived. The store was closed. And as soon as the doors got shut, Griffin gifted himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself for free, without any tension of expense. He opened the boxes and wrappers and fitted himself with warm clothes. And then he wore shoes, then he wore overcoat and a wide hat. He became a fully dressed and visible person. When he put on the clothes, now those clothes were visible on his body. His body was still invisible, but the clothes were visible. And then in the kitchen of the restaurant, he found some cold meat and coffee, and then he ate them, and then he took some dessert, sweets and wine from the grocery store, and then he laid down on a pile of quilts to sleep. If only Griffin had managed to wake up in good time, all might have been well. As it was, he did not wake up until the assistants were already arriving next morning. When he saw a couple of them approaching, he panicked and began to run. They naturally gave chase. In the end, he was able to escape only by quickly taking off his newly found clothes. So once more, he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air. So if Griffin had woke up before the staff arrived earlier, he would have escaped easily. But he was sleeping very comfortably on a pile of quilts. So what happened? He slept for long. And he did not wake up until the assistants started arriving in the morning. The staff started to come in the morning. And when he saw them approaching towards him, he panicked. And in that state of anxiety, he started to run. What happens? If you are caught doing something that you are not supposed to, what happens? You just panic. You don't know what to do, so you just run. That's your instinct telling you to run. And that is what the scientist did. He was also a human. Maybe he was a scientist, but he was human. So his instincts panicked and told him to run. The staff chased him. They ran after him, but in the end, he again had to take off his newly found clothes and he became invisible again. So once more, he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air. This time, he decided to try the stock of a theatrical company in the hope of finding not only clothes, but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Shivering with cold, he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theater world. It was January, right? Chilling cold, so he had to find clothes. He was shivering from cold, so he thought that this time he's going to try the stock of a theater company. And he hoped there he'll just not find the clothes, but he'll also find something that would be able to hide the empty space above his shoulders. Shivering with cold, he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theater world. And suffering from that cold, shivering from that cold, he hurried. He walked fastly towards the Drury Lane, the center of the theatre world. He soon found a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs and came out a little later, wearing bandages round his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers, and a large hat. To escape without being seen, he callously attacked the shopkeeper from behind, after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. He soon found a suitable shop. As he reached Drury Lane, he found a shop and he made his way to the shop. He was still invisible. Here, you're being reminded that the scientist was still invisible. He went upstairs and came out a little later. Upstairs to the go down of the store, obviously, and little later he came out wearing bandages round his forehead, white strips of clothes around his forehead, and then dark glasses to cover his eyes and make them visible, a false nose to make his nose to get a nose on the face, and big bushy side whiskers so that his face, the sides of his face would be visible. Side whiskers are the long beard on the side of a man's cheek. You would have seen them in movies. If you have seen X-Men, the beard that Hugh Jackman had in that is side whisker. And a large hat to cover his head too. So now he was completely visible. I guess you can picturize the man wearing bandages around his forehead and then dark glasses and a false nose, big bushy side whiskers and large hat. Try to close your eyes and picturize this man. You'll be able to. And then to escape without being seen, to escape without being caught, he callously attacked the shopkeeper from behind. He attacked the shopkeeper from behind, and after that he took all the money he could find from the store and the shopkeeper. Eager to get away from crowded London, he took a train to the village of Epping, where he booked 2 rooms at a local inn. So eager, he was too much tempted to get away from the crowded London because he thought eventually he'll get caught. Things were getting messed up there. So he took a train to the village of Epping. He went to a village of Epping and there he booked 2 rooms in a local inn. You all know what an inn is. The arrival of a stranger at an inn in winter was in any case an unusual event. A stranger of such uncommon appearance set all tongues wagging. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly, but Griffin had no desire to talk, and told her, "My reason for coming to Epping is a desire for solitude. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. Besides, an accident has affected my face." At this time of winter, strangers coming to a village was really surprising, very unusual. So the owners of the hotel, of the inn, were shocked. And a stranger with such uncommon appearance, with bandages around his face and nose and dark glasses and a hat, looking like a clown, set all tongues wagging. All tongues wagging here means everyone was surprised and their tongues were hanging out in surprise. What happens whenever you see that feeling of awe? Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly. Mrs. Hall tried to be friendly with the stranger to get to know about him, but Griffin did not want to talk. He had not a single desire to talk, and he told her very clearly that his reason to come to Epping is a desire for solitude. He has come to Epping because he wants to be alone for some time. I do not want to be disturbed in my work. He said that he doesn't want any kind of disturbance, and he justified his face too, that he met an accident and that affected his face. Satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. But the stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive any moment. When Mrs. Hall was satisfied that her customer was paying her in advance, an eccentric means mad, insane, someone with whimsical set of mind. So satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, when she made peace with the fact that the guest who has come is some insane scientist, and tempted by the money that he was giving her in advance, what happened? Mrs. Hall prepared to give him the room. She was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. She thought that, okay, I can manage with these things. What is temper? Temper is a state of mind of someone. So Mrs. Hall excused his strange habits and irritable behavior in temptation of that advance money. But the stolen money did not last long. He had paid that money that he stole from the store. So it did not last long, and at the present time Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. He had no cash, no money left with him. So he pretended that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. He told them a lie that a check is coming, and as that comes he will pay. That is what the borrowers tell, right? The money is about to come, and as it comes I'll pay you. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by the noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken away from clergyman's desk. Shortly afterwards, on that day only, after some time, a curious episode occurred. Some very interesting episode took place. Very early in the morning, a clergyman is a church man, a male priest in the church, and his wife were awakened by noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken away from the clergyman's desk. What is chink? Chink is that high-pitched ringing sound. Okay, coins. Okay, so when they crept downstairs, they heard that the money is being jingling sound of money. The coins were being taken away from clergyman's desk. From his desk, the money was being taken away. The coins were being taken away. Without making any noise, and with a poker grasped firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung open the door. Now very silently he crept downwards. The clergyman crept downwards with a poker grasped firmly in his hand. What is a poker? Poker is an iron rod which has handle on its edge. Okay, so he took a poker, a stick, a metal stick, firmly in his hand, and flung open the door to attack the thief. Surrender. Then, to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody. Yet, the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing. He shouted, "Surrender." He asked the thief to surrender, but he was amazed, surprised, astonished when he realized that there was no one in the room. He, along with his wife, looked under the desk and then behind the curtains and even up the chimney to find the culprit. But he was nowhere. The room was vacant, empty. There was no sign of any person in there. Yet the desk was open and the housekeeping money, the money kept for grocery and other things, was missing. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. The clergyman, the churchman, kept calling it a very extraordinary affair all through the day. But it was not as extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. In that morning only, something very extraordinary happened with Mr. Hall's furniture. Let's see. The landlord and his wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. Usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They peeped round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time. Stranger still, the clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. The landlord and his wife were up early. That very morning, after the clergyman's episode happened, the landlord and his wife had woken up early and were surprised when they saw the scientist's door wide open. His room was mostly closed and locked, but this time it was open. The scientist got angry if anyone entered his room, but the room was totally opened at this point of time. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. Obviously, if someone stays locked inside and then one day you find something open, you'll obviously peep inside to look what is there inside, right? Curiosity killed the cat too. Okay, so out of curiosity, they entered the room. They peeped round the door. They peeped inside and saw nobody. And then they decided that they'll look into the things, what is happening in the room. They'll investigate it. The bedclothes were cold, and that reflected that scientist was up for some time. The warmth of his body was gone from the clothes, and stranger still, the clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. And what was more shocking was that the clothes and the bandages that he was always wearing were spread all through the room, lying about the room, scattered here and there. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her, legs foremost. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. And then suddenly Mrs. Hall heard a sniff, a breathing sound close to her ear. A moment later, and just after a moment that she heard that breathing sound near her ear, the hat on the bedpost rose up and dashed itself into her face. Struck itself forcefully into her face as if someone had thrown it. Then the bedroom chair became alive, and then the chair came to life, started moving and sprang into the air. It jumped into the air and came right at her legs. It came to her legs first, and then she and her husband turned away in terror, and as they moved away terrified, very scared, that chair pushed them both out of the room. That chair pushed the landlords out of the room and then locked the door behind them. And that chair pulled the door and locked it. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. What is hysterics? Shock, situation of deep shock. Hysteria. It's also called hysteria. So she was so shocked that she almost fell down when she was going down the stairs. She was convinced, she believed that the room was haunted by ghosts and spirits and that a stranger had caused these spirits to enter into her furniture. She believed that something paranormal was happening there, something supernatural was happening inside her room. My poor mother used to sit in that chair, she moaned. To think it should rise up against me now. She said that she was moaning with pain and shock that her mother used to sit in that chair that attacked her today. To think it should rise up against me now, that it was so loved by her mother and she was so loved by her mother that it is totally unbelievable that particular chair will attack her. That was what Mrs. Hall's thought. The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. And as this event got told to the neighbors, as they got to know about it, they said that some witchcraft is being, practiced in your hotel and room. And maybe the scientist is responsible for that. But witchcraft or not, whether it was witchcraft, whether it was something paranormal, spirit related or not, but when the news of the robbery at clergyman's home became known to the neighbors, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. It was strongly believed that the scientist had a hand in it. And their doubt about the scientist grew even stronger when he took out some ready cash. He paid them some money, though not long before he had said that he has no money and he is waiting for a check. The village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. So the neighbors and Mrs. Hall secretly called the village constable to catch this eccentric scientist. Mrs. Hall went to the scientist who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. She went to the scientist who just out of nowhere came out of the empty bedroom. They did not know that he was in there. The room was empty when they went in, right? The chair attacked them and pushed them out of the room, if you remember, okay? So she was shocked then too. I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs, she demanded. And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room. She attacked her with a series of questions. She asked what was he doing to her chair, the chair in which her mother sat and which attacked her today. And she asked him how did he come out of an empty room and how did he enter a locked room. So there was a series of questions that he was attacked with. The scientist was always quick-tempered and he became furious. "You don't understand who or what I am," he shouted. "Very well, I'll show you." So, quick-tempered as he was, he lost it and he became very angry and he shouted, "You don't understand who or what I am. You don't get who I am or what I am?" He shouted. "Very well, I'll show you what I am." Suddenly, he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. And then, in that anger only, he started to throw off his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, hat, and everything that he had on, and nose too. In a minute, he did it all, and horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. In a minute, he became headless. He had taken out everything, he had thrown everything he was wearing to cover his head. Mr. Jaffers, the constable, now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested, with or without his head. The name of the constable who was called was Mr. Jaffers, and he arrived. And he was very much surprised when he found that the person who he had come to arrest was a man without head, was a headless man. But Jaffers was very much dedicated to his duty. And if a warrant ordered him to arrest a person, even if that person is without head, he is going to do that. There followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shirt flew into the air and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him, but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. And after that, a remarkable scene happened. As the constable tried to hold that man, and the man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off his garments, he was becoming more and more invisible. And finally, a shirt flew into the air. And the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. And as the scientist threw away his shirt, he became totally invisible. Some people tried to help the constable, but they were hit by blows. They were punched and they did not know where those punches, the blows were coming from. In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. But Jaffers, as he was, he did not give up. He tried to do his best. He tried to catch that invisible man. But as he made his last attempt, he was knocked again, and this time he went unconscious. He fell down and became unconscious, and the unseen scientist could not be caught. There were nervous, excited cries of "hold him," but this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. There were nervous, excited cries of "hold him." Everyone was shouting, "Hold him, hold him." Everyone wanted to get a catch on him. But this was easier said than done. It was easy to say it than doing it. Griffin had shaken himself free, but no one knew where to lay hands on him. This was easier said than done is a phrase that means it is easy to say something than doing it. Okay, it's easy to say it, but doing it is rather difficult. So try to use this phrase in the answers that you write about it. Griffin shook himself free and no one knew where to catch him, where to put hands on him. So this was the story. Now you have to decide whether he used or misused his skills or his wonder or his secret or his discovery. And we'll do the question answers, and if you have any doubts you can still comment or ask me directly. That's it. Thank you for listening to the video. Happy learning.